You better get your life. Get your life. Yes, y'all. Come on now, sign up for ifyoucanmove.com. All right, go in and buy some things from Team LASHAE. Get your workout journey going. Y'all know how y'all do. It's about to be January. Y'all gonna have, wants and resolutions and all of that, and then y'all not gonna stick to them. So once y'all start it off right, okay, get y'all some TLC products to clean out all that food and alcohol that y'all drinking. Get you some NutriBurst to replenish you so you don't be out here getting sick and getting a cold. Okay, keep yourself healthy. Try that sea moss that get that phlegm up out you. Okay, y'all go and check out TLC products because they really will help you stay, on track with your journey and aid you in your process. Sign up for Team LASHAE and sign up for the online gym. Go check out and see what my girl got. Y'all know I'm also an affiliate for her boutique, Pasia and Amari, which has really cute workout clothing and jackets and masks and just all kind of cute stuff. So y'all go and check out that link. Sign up on my Patreon so you can be on my Discord. Y'all support in all of these different ways. Check down below in the description box. Okay, follow me on Instagram and let's get into the video.
Oh, me, get you some, okay? Listen, I swear by it.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondy Blue and I am finally back for Iyanla Fix My Life. Listen, the episode was like an hour and a half long, so it took me a minute to watch it. And then on top of that, y'all, I was all in my feelings. Like I cried through a lot of this episode, okay? Mainly for me because it is a lot like my own family situation. God rest his soul. My daddy was a great provider and a great father, but he had anger issues. And when you are his wife and children, you get the butt of those issues sometimes. And it's unfortunate that we did not live in a space and a time for him to have what he needed in order to be emotionally supportive, because he tried. I will say that. I will say that I definitely could see a lot of situations that happened with this family that happened in my own. But I'm just going to say that I never felt like I couldn't get past it with my dad. Like, I'll say that is a part of my mom in me, that I am a very forgiving person and I like to get over shit. I don't like to hold on to anger. I don't like to hold on to negative feelings. And there have been times in my life when my daddy has disappointed me and hurt me because he could not handle his own emotions. And it took moments where I saw who he was as a person and as a son that made me have compassion for him enough to understand who he was and where he was coming from. And I feel like this was what happened with Mark. Okay? Gratefully for me and my father, I always say we left everything on the floor. We left everything on the floor because I never felt like there was anything that I needed to say. And I never felt like there was anything that he needed to do differently. At the end of the day, he was who he was. But I could never say he didn't give me the absolute best and most of what he had to give. So I was very emotional just watching this, from understanding where everybody's coming from, but also like tapping into my own, shit. At the end of the day, there are still moments that I could cry about now, which means I'm not over it all the way. And I don't know if I will ever be. But what I will say is I'm over it enough to see that at the end of the day, the positives outweigh the negatives as far as I was concerned. And it wasn't just about being provided for. It was also about feeling protected. And what I will say is I was never scared that I couldn't tell my daddy if somebody hurt me because he might go to jail, because my daddy knew all of the judges. So, listen, I always knew he was going to be all right. But thank God I was always the type of child that I think people wouldn't do that to, because I would have said something. There was never any fear in me once I got near my daddy. Like, he's the only person that I was really scared of. Like, nobody else could invoke that fear in me. And that's a gift and a curse, because I shouldn't have been scared of him. But it also propelled me to make better decisions. Even if it could have been done a different way, this is what happened. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, okay, and to explain why I've been crying throughout this episode, child. Oh, Lord, touch my spirit. let's go ahead and get into my notes. All right. So we know this man, Mark. Okay. This man, Mark, was a little tipsy online talking to one of his daughters about how if a man is not providing for you, if your man is not showing up the way your daddy does, then you don't need to fool with that man. Went viral. Everybody thought he was so great. I don't know how that translated to y'all cyberbullying this man's wife. Like, I don't know how, a man saying that his wife has never had to look at a bill. I don't know how that translates to her being in the wrong, because she said that she had to delete her social media for a while because she was a principal at a school. And all of these people are coming at her in the comments, about assumptions they've made about her based off of what her husband was saying. And let me tell you something. There is never a day in my life where I look at a woman who is well taken care of by her husband and feel like she's stupid or she's doing something wrong. No, 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 no. Okay. Now, what a woman is giving up for the comfortability is another thing. And that's what my mama always comes into my mind. My mama said to me, as long as I can remember, don't you ever put yourself in a situation where you can't get up and leave. Okay. And that's a serious statement to make, because there are so many women who stayed in abusive marriages or stayed in relationships that they didn't want to be in any longer because the man took care of them. And it's 2020. You know what I'm saying? My mama was popping shit in the 70s through the 90s. Okay. Like, I'm just saying her hot girl days. Okay. So I feel like she always presented herself to me in a way that, yes, I made a smart decision by getting with your father. Yes, sometimes we have to deal with him and his anger issues, but all in all, our life is great. I saw my dad also be endearing and sweet and loving and affectionate. It wasn't all the time, but I saw it enough to know that it was there. So I feel like it wasn't like I didn't have somewhat of a balance in having a daddy who was a disciplinarian and angry and made me a nervous wreck as an adult. Yes. But ultimately, I feel like I also saw the positives. So I couldn't hold on to the negatives for too long. You know what I'm saying? Especially with me having the forethought as a kid to understand that I had in a lot of ways what other people wish they had had. Fathers that were present at every damn school function. It didn't matter what was going on, Jerome was there. Okay? No matter if it was a play, you singing at church, whatever it was, he showed up. And he also vocalized to me that nobody loved me more than him. Oh, and your mama. So I think that in the ways he tried to be better because he was conscious of the fact that he did have anger issues. But what can a man born in 1948 really do about their anger issues besides drink them away? I'm just saying, ain't a lot of people that's going to go and talk their business to somebody and go to therapy from his age range. And also being a black man. Child, they don't trust y'all. They know about the Tuskegee experiment. They don't trust none of y'all. It don't matter if you a doctor of psychology or a doctor of medical. They in some way, shape, or form will try not to trust your ass based off of the history in this country. Okay, context, people. You got to bring shit into focus, because everybody acts like something wrong with black people because they don't trust doctors, as if we haven't been given a reason to. Okay, but anyway. So this man, is a man like my own father, where they worked and worked and worked because they wanted to make sure that everything in their household, their family, their children were being taken care of. Okay. So I got that. And I always say my daddy had anger issues, but yeah, the shit was abusive sometimes. Like, I know people may not want to hear that, and I'm glad he's dead and gone, because I would never say this out loud otherwise. But the nigga was abusive sometimes. Okay. To me, there have been times. To my mom, there have been times. Not a lot, but enough for it to create a memory in my mind that lives on in perpetuity. Okay. So I just want to be real and say that even though I hate to put my daddy out there like that, when I was looking at this man, a lot of my compassion for him came from me understanding him as I understood my father, which was somebody who was raised really tough. Somebody that didn't get a lot of the nurturing because, well, he did, but he didn't. Because the attention was always on his younger sister, never on him. And I always tell this story about the moment that I heard my daddy pleading for my grandmother to stay living with us instead of going back to New Orleans so she could be worried about my aunt. Mind you, my aunt is a paranoid schizophrenic and kind of goes from pillow to post. All right. And my dad is providing you with the mother-in-law suite and a comfortable home to live in and not having to worry about anything. And that's not enough. She still wants to go and live in New Orleans so she can worry about where my aunt is. My dad felt like, once again, no matter what I do, it's never enough. And I wasn't in the room, but I heard this conversation. And to be honest with y'all, it changed everything about the way I felt. It really made me put on kid gloves with my daddy. And he got sick. So, that also made me want to be more protective of him than anything. And I saw my daddy go from being a really strong, tall man to being sick and, very small and gaunt and needing to be taken care of. And that also changed my perspective. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at this man, a lot of the shit that I have for my own dad, I see it in him. I mean, the way he held his face, his glasses, like there were a lot of things, okay, that just rang so true for me. You know what I'm saying? So this man is also an alcoholic, you can tell, and abusive in one way or another to his family. You know what I mean? So I definitely, like I said, felt it. And talk about how he got into a physical fight with his youngest son. Okay, son rose up on him and they got into a fight, and this happened a few times until his son knocked him on his ass, and it feels like there's no respect. So now we really have an issue. You know what I'm saying? I can remember a time when my daddy, was going after my brother. You know what I'm saying? Like I could definitely see all of these moments mirrored in my own life. You know what I mean? And I believe to this day, like my brother holds on, and my sister, I feel like, I don't know if they've dealt with it. My sister probably has dealt with it a little bit more than my brother. Even though it's probably not the way he handles his kids, I always feel like there's some frustration inside of my brother that has a lot to do with his relationship with my dad. So not only does Mark have issues with his children, he has issues with his wife, okay? There was never really a love story for them. They dated, they had a lot of sex, she got pregnant. And, they got married because he wasn't going to be a baby daddy. He saw himself as more than that. So they get married and the love maybe came after. But it wasn't the same, as being head over heels in love with somebody when you have a baby with them. There is a lot of obligation in this relationship. You know what I'm saying? They talk about the video and how it caused issue for her at her job and how it is something that he has said, so it wasn't a big deal, but it did make people look at Jamil, his wife, in a certain way. It also spoke about what he felt like he didn't get growing up. This is a man that never really felt like anybody cared about him. And it's so funny because as much as my dad had people that loved him and had a two-parent household, I always remember him saying that he felt more like his grandfather was a parent to him than his actual parents because of how much they worked. And he felt the nurturing actually happened with his grandfather more than it happened with his parents. So I feel like there's some symmetry in that, where men grow up feeling unloved and therefore don't know how to show that or give that to their own woman or their own kids because nobody has shown them, not only shown them how to love through loving them, but hasn't even shown you an example of it. Not really. And I feel like a lot of what saved my dad from being more terrible than he could have been, and probably more terrible than a lot of his friends and other people, was the fact that he had his grandfather who gave him some type of balance and perspective. I swear there are people in children's lives sometimes that save they damn life just for giving them something different than what they get from their parents. Because, we've seen that just because you can lay down and have children does not mean that, you did all the way right by your kids. Just because they was fed and clean and had a house does not mean you did not fuck them up emotionally and mentally in one way or another with your own isms. So his wife says that the family's relationship is transactional. I also understand that. You know what I'm saying? Like, your father doesn't know how to give emotional support, so he buys you shit. I can remember a time when my dad got physical with me in a way that I feel like I did not deserve, because he was angry and did not give himself a chance to breathe before he reacted to his daughter. Okay? So something happened and I was very upset about it, but I was more so hurt than anything. I gotten whippings before, but this time it was like I did nothing wrong and you still hit me. That wasn't the first time I had did nothing wrong and got beat for something somebody else did. But that time, something about it clicked something off for me. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like him buying me things, and I can remember like maybe a day or two later, I'm about to go to the mall, why don't you come with me? You know? And he buys me these fire-ass pair of DMX tennis shoes that I liked. Okay, and I love those tennis shoes, and I also knew what they signified. They signified the apology that he was never gonna verbalize, but that he felt anyway. And for some reason, because it had to be good enough, and because I was smart enough to understand what it meant, I still accepted it, because I felt like any remorse is better than no remorse at all. And there had been times where I felt like I had been beat for shit that I didn't do, and that remorse never came. Because as a parent, I feel like they become justified in feeling like, well, I'm just making sure they don't do this, and I'm just trying to make sure they don't do that. You know, when ultimately your child needed something different than what you were able to give in the moment, and your reaction was wrong, and you can't deal with that. And see, here's the thing. And another thing I do understand about being a parent is that at some point you have to be above board and so infallible to your kids, because otherwise, whenever they find out that you're fucked up, whenever they find out that you're not perfect in a situation, it changes how they feel about respecting you. And that's never a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there would, definitely moments where I felt like I can't respect you. But because I was often not given a choice, I still had to. But like I said, in my heart, I never held things against him. So eventually I would get over it anyway. You know what I'm saying? In their family, it seems as if they have not been able to get past any of the things that the daddy has put them through. He's also put his hands on his wife, choked her up over something. And his son doesn't like being told what to do, because now I've seen you drunk, hitting on my mama or whatever. So now I don't have respect for you. Now I'm mad. And especially as a boy child, as you're getting older, your dad is getting older. So now if he comes at me a certain way, I can handle him a certain way. The way he's handled me. I mean, in all honesty, it's what you taught your son, that being physical is the answer. So if he's physical with you, you only have yourself to blame, but you look at it as disrespect, but this is what you taught him. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. But he doesn't know how to connect with his son at this point. So Iyanla tells the wife that dealing with her husband transactionally and not being in love with him or dealing with him from her heart, basically she's been hoeing. You stayed with this man. You've laid down with this man because of what he could provide for you. That's hoeing. If your heart ain't in it, it's hoeing. That's what Iyanla said. Okay. And I mean, you can't even really disagree with it, because at the end of the day, like I said, it's 2020. Even though it's hard, you don't have to be in a marriage or in a relationship with a man who you don't love just because he takes care of you. Whereas with, in past years, 50s, 60s, 70s, it was harder for women to actually take care of themselves because they weren't hired like that. Men didn't want to hire women for certain jobs, and the jobs they could get hired for didn't pay them enough for them to take care of a household. So I just kind of feel like now you don't have an excuse for that same type of toxicity, but it continues on. It continues on nonetheless. So the dad watches as they bring the daughters out. He's got the two older twin daughters. He's got the daughter Ashley, and then he's got the younger daughter Jaden, who is a light in a dark room. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it, but that's the way she came off to me. The oldest twin, Shireen or whatever her name was, because I'm going to be referring to them as twins, get into it with the daughter Ashley. Okay, they get into it with her. And see, it's something I've always also experienced in my family. When two siblings are closer in age or just closer because they share the same mother and father versus you who only shares a father with them, they gang up on you. And so the twins and Ashley got into it. They gang up on her. But I ain't gonna lie. You know what I did respect about Ashley? She debo, God rest his soul, the shit out of them. Not only did she walk into the room on some dun 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 dun, like it was just the energy she came with. But also, when both of her sisters were running their mouth and jumping up out of their seats, she got into both of their faces closely and said, "You ain't gonna do shit and you ain't gonna do shit." And I was just like, and they just sat there. I mean, to me, if you was gonna do shit, that would have been the time in the moment. So I just kind of felt like at that point, y'all both need to chill out with all of the rah-rah shit, because like Debo said, y'all ain't gonna do shit. So the energy needs to change because you don't really want it. Am I correct? Okay. See, that's a maturity thing. When you don't want physical from somebody, you have to change your energy with them. And that's why, I say all the time, that was something I had to learn throughout the years. And something I still kind of grapple with is when I feel hurt, I go straight to anger. I go straight to, well, fuck you then. Like that's a lot of how I've handled my life. So for me, dealing, with emotion is sometimes having to be extremely honest about what the emotion is off rip, which is my fucking feelings are hurt right now. And that's where all of them are kind of coming from right now. The twins are feeling some type of way. Ashley is feeling some type of way. And Ashley really has a lot of anger towards them because she feels they have a closer relationship with the dad than she does. And she wants that relationship with her father. So Iyanla takes Ashley outside, okay? Because, like I said, she got in their faces. So Ashley and her go outside. Ashley is so emotional and instantly starts to cry. You know what I'm saying? And Iyanla comes back in, sends the youngest daughter, Jaden, out to, deal with Ashley. Be there for your sister while she talked to the twins. And basically the twins are on some and it's like, y'all are 30-something years old. I'm going to need for y'all to act like some grown-ass women. I can't stand whatever. Like, no, that ain't what it is. You mad at somebody, but it's not Ashley. Y'all are both mad at other people and y'all are taking it out on each other. Okay? And she got the daughters, the twins, to understand that they really mad at their mama. They mad because their mama abused them. There were times when the mama did not feed them, where the mama treated them bad because she was upset with who their daddy was. Child, I can't stand a woman that'll lay down and have kids for a man. He desert her and now you want to treat the kids like it's their fault. Like she said, they did not ask to be here. Iyanla gave her a moment where she can go completely off on the mother who was not there. Now, I don't know whether the mama was dead or not because the way she talked to her, it seemed as if she was still alive. So what she wanted to say to her mom was she would never treat her daughters the way her mama treated them. Her children will always have somewhere that they can lay their head, always have food on their table, and never have to worry about their mother being the one that abuses them. That was some real shit. And in all honesty, the twins are walking around with vitriol in them because of that. Not because of Ashley. Just like Ashley is hurt because her mom, the situation with her mom was messed up. And, the daddy wasn't there for her. I guess the way she felt like he should have been there for her versus how he was there for his two twin daughters. You know what I'm saying? We didn't really get the breakdown of that, or maybe I missed it. I don't know. But I'll just say that everybody has issues with their parents and they're putting it on the siblings. So Iyanla makes the sisters apologize to one another, which I'm so grateful for. They apologize, they smile, they get over it, okay? Then we find out that the baby Jaden was assaulted at 7 years old, okay? And it seems as if all of the daughters have been assaulted, which makes me feel like it was some family member. I don't know who it was, but she said it happened to her at 7, and all the other, siblings said it happened to them as well. And nobody wanted to tell Mark because they were scared that Mark was going to hurt somebody. And like I said, child, never did I ever feel like that. I always felt like no matter what, my daddy is going to be all right because he's my protector. So I feel like that also speaks to the daddy not being in control of his emotions, okay? Because if they felt that scared that something would happen to you, if they were honest about what happened to them, that just shows that you were flying off the handle more than you should have been, as far as I'm concerned, okay? Because nobody's perfect and shit happens in families. But sir, they should have felt safe coming to you, which means you did something along the way to make them feel like you weren't stable enough to handle what had happened to them. I mean, Jaden is 18 years old and still scared to tell her mom and her dad about what happened to them because she's more protective of their feelings, which means throughout their relationship that mama and daddy have made them kids responsible for their feelings. That's not cool to me. Child, I ain't gonna tell on my family, but somebody in my family, I feel like, is always making their kids responsible for their feelings in a way that they should not. Child, I ain't gonna talk about them on here. I'm gonna keep on going. So while all of this is happening, the dad is watching them with Dr. Stevens, which is the male therapist that was brought on board in order to be able to dialogue with Mark and make him understand and, just basically coach him through this process. And he was extremely upset when he found out what had happened to all of his daughters. I mean, I felt so bad for everybody involved because I know that's not what that daddy meant to do. And I know he felt like at the end of the day, that was where his pride was, in the fact that he had provided and protected his children. And now to find out that you didn't, that had to be heartbreaking for him. At this point, this is when I started to feel bad for the dad. I know I probably shouldn't, but like I said, I look at him and I see my own father. And there were a lot of moments where I had to have compassion for my daddy. And in feeling that and in doing that, I was a better person for it. I'ma say that. Iyanla comes in to speak with him and she tells him that his daughters are in trouble because he's in trouble. Charlie reminds me of the 5 heartbeats. He ain't gonna be shit. Cause I ain't shit. It's not true, but similar situation where the parent feels like because of whatever their pain is, their child is now taking on that same pain. It's called pathology. Iyanla tells us about it all the time. So Mark's son, Jordan, sits down and talks to Iyanla. And he has this I don't give a fuck attitude. I don't care. I'm over it. Sir, you're not over it. You're so upset right now. You couldn't possibly be over it. Okay? Indifference and anger are a very fine line as far as I'm concerned. And Jordan is teetering on the line. He's smart, so he thinks he knows a lot. But I love the way Iyanla handles him because I am going to handle him with kid gloves. But I need for you to understand that I know a lot because I've been through a lot. So I'm not about to tell you no bullshit. So understand when I say something, it's true and I meant that shit. Okay? Which means respect what I'm telling you, boy. Okay? That was the therapeutical way of saying that. He basically says his father is a bad father. He says they fought when he was in the 6th grade and his dad flipped him over the back and all of that type of shit. And then they fought when he was in the 9th grade and he pulled his son's hair out and was calling him a bitch. And then, he choked his dad. I mean, they have really crossed lines. And this is something I want to talk about. I do feel like some kids need corporal punishment. Not all kids and not for every damn thing, but there are some things that only physical pain can remedy as far as I'm concerned, okay? But I will say this. When you start crossing lines with your kids to where you fighting them like they a nigga in the streets, you have now given them more free reign to disrespect you. It's not going to make them have more respect for you. It's going to get to a level where they feel like I'm too damn old for you to keep putting your hands on me. And eventually I'm going to hit your ass back. So what you need to understand as a parent is that being above board means you need to be able to control yourself so that your children can control themselves. So if you can't control your hands, you can't control your anger, you can't expect your children to then do the same thing. Because that means you're expecting your kids to be more controlled and have more self-control and maturity than you do as their parent, which is ridiculous and idiotic. He needs to understand that you can't handle your son with physicality at every turn, especially as he is becoming a man and getting older, because then he's gonna then look at you like you just another nigga on the street because you have then handled him in that same manner. Do you hear me? Okay. They bring in Dr. Steven to get Jordan to understand that he and his dad are a lot alike, and that his dad sees a lot of himself in Jordan right now because he, as a young man, felt like nobody cared about him. So he walked around very much caring deep down inside, but acting as if he didn't. And now he's seeing that same thing with Jordan. The sisters talk about how they finally resolved an issue, because usually they would just go back to their respective states and then the problem would just fester. And when they see each other, you know, that energy will resurface at one point or another. So finally, they've been able to actually have an argument and then resolve it. So thank God. And they all felt like they needed it. They needed to have a conversation. They needed to resolve some things. They needed to cry. They needed to say what had happened to them all. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like as sisters, y'all should find solace in the fact that every single one of y'all has something not only in common with DNA, but in trauma. So use that to uplift each other. They also speak about how they want their father to be held accountable for the mistakes he's made. Then they bring back his wife, Jamil, who basically has checked out of the relationship. She's not there anymore. And Iyanla gets her to admit that she's an abused wife because she doesn't, she doesn't want to admit that. And I also feel like there are a lot of women who don't like to admit that they're being abused in one way or another. She says that she kept trying to make it work with Mark because at one point he was going through therapy and it seems to have gotten a little bit better. So she thought it would continue to get better. But what happened is it got better, but that's still not good enough. And it's not good enough for her and what she needs. But she has to not only forgive him, but she has to forgive herself for allowing him to treat her in that way, for devaluing herself and accepting all that she has accepted just so she can be financially taken care of. So Iyanla gets her prepared for the conversation that she has to have with him face to face, which is that she needs to leave him. She needs space from him. She needs him to let her go. He apologizes for hurting her, but he didn't know how to do better. He didn't know how to deal with his emotions. And like I said, a lot of people weren't given the tools. It doesn't absolve you, but it definitely is the reason why. And I feel like people always say, oh, that's an excuse. They always want to call some shit an excuse. And I hate that they do that because I feel like you're dismissing the reason why this is happening. It does matter. You know what I'm saying? It matters why, so that you can see what the issue is from the beginning. And not only so that you can rectify it on the back end, but so that you can keep those same pathologies from showing up in your kids if you can see how it starts, if you can understand how it started from the beginning. But even though I feel like Mark wants his marriage and is very much in the space of trying to fix things, Jamil is out of it. She's out of it. And she says that she needs to step away from him because she cannot be what he needs to help him become the king that he's trying to be. And really, that's just him being a better man. You want to be the king of the castle, then you need to have all of the emotional and mental traits as well, not just the pocketbook. She says if she stays with him, she will die. And I don't think that is from a physical standpoint of him abusing her. I think he has put his hands on her like she said. But I think it's more so from a place of feeling like I'm already low-key dying on the inside as it is. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I could see that all over her face. Just resigned, checked out. Like deadened in the emotions, you know what I'm saying? And going through all of this is what brings that back up. You know what I'm saying? So her having to tell him the truth about how she felt was really like a breaking of the dam, the floodgates open, because after she just falls out crying in a way that she had not this entire process, because she finally got it off her chest. Okay. Dr. Steven was there to coach Mark through, his responses, and to get him to actually sit with it and not rush to convince her not to leave him, because that's not what she needs. That's what he wants. And a part of understanding how to fix your marriage is understanding that you have to deal with how uncomfortable this might be for you, so that you can give your spouse what they need. He says he's ready and willing to give up the fight, because she feels like when she tried to make it work before, he fought her at every turn, and now she's damn tired. So the next day we find out that they weren't supposed to talk about divorce. They also weren't supposed to talk about him getting physical with her, I'm sure. And her being honest about that to him was a betrayal. So instead of letting her have the night to herself like he was supposed to, he's sending her text messages, and she woke up pissed off. So Iyanla had to bring them together so that they can have an understanding. Okay. First of all, her leaving him is not divorce. It's her finding herself and him giving her the space to do that. Now, at the end of that, a divorce is what ends up needing to happen, then fine. But I feel like that's not where we are just yet. But I don't think any of us knew that except for her. Okay. But I like that Iyanla checked him and told him, you cannot be upset with her about being honest, because you decided to be fraudulent in this process by keeping things secret when we're trying to put everything out on the table. You already exposed your family on social media. Don't try to be secretive now. Okay. You called me. All right. I love what she telling that. You called me. So then Dr. Steven, talks to Jordan. So what happens when you have a parent and a child in breakdown, I feel like, is you have to get them to understand how to see their parent as a person and as someone who is making mistakes just like they are, and they have to have some compassion for that, because I feel like that was definitely the light bulb for me. Like, I will never forget that moment as long as I live, because it was the moment that I had to see my daddy as a son and somebody that was looking for love and validation from a parent that they had never really gotten it from. And I had never seen him from that perspective. So it gave me the compassion to see him, I think, the way my mom always had. You know what I'm saying? I would ask my mom all the time, why you always, let him get away with the way he talked to you, the way he did this, the way he did that. Child, now that I'm older, I understand why you would get so damn aggravated with my mama. You got to say things a million times to my mama sometimes. So I understand now as an adult how you could get aggravated with her sometimes. But I also feel like she always saw him as a man that was always trying to do his best and fell short because he was not given the tools to deal with his emotions. Dr. Stevens brings Jordan and him together. And even though I feel like Jordan was still trying to process it, the fact that his father came to him, said, son, I need you to understand, my face is not about you. I'm not upset about you. It's been a long day. My head hurt. I'm tired. I need you to understand it's not about you. So he came to his son automatically showing reverence for his emotions and how he may feel in the moment, which is something that when you getting off from work and you tired and you done had a long day dealing with them white folks and all this and that, you may not have the patience or the wherewithal to tell your child, I'm just really tired. And they don't understand that. They just know daddy, daddy, daddy. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there had to be a breaking down that had to happen so that his dad could come to him and explain his emotions in a way for his son to understand. And even though Jordan may not have understood it, I felt like in that moment, I feel like just the fact that he came at him in the way that he did made his son have to be more compassionate to his father in that moment. And that's what Dr. Stevens was getting him ready for. To understand that you and your dad have some of the same issues. You and your dad have some of the same problems. And if he comes to you open and he comes to you in a way that is very different than how he has come to you before, you have to be open to it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like at the end of the day, you can call somebody a bad parent because of the emotional and mental and physical abuse. Yes. But you can't say that that man don't love his kids. And I feel like at the end of the day, to say someone failed is to say that you can't fix it. And I feel like it can be fixed. Everybody just has to show up open and honest about their feelings in order for that to happen. You know what I'm saying? But I thought it was such a great moment. So I already talked about how Mark and Jamil were brought together so that she could tell him what she needed from him, right? She tells him that she needs space for her to figure out who she is. They need to get therapy. And she needs for him to stop raising his voice with her. And he agrees to do all of those things. He says his night was terrible because he thought that she was like about to divorce him. But no, we're not in that space just yet. But they do love each other. So they bring the kids, you know, into the room. And all of the girls read letters to their dads, you know, and the twins love their daddy from his head to his feet and all of this shit. And Ashley speaks about needing more from him, needing more hugs and kisses. And Jaden says that she's hurt that he wasn't around, and that when she was running up to him to hug him and kiss him, he probably was like, move, get off me, I'm tired. You know what I'm saying? Like, I totally see how as an adult, we don't understand the sensitive space that our kids are in. I can remember so many times that I felt like I was being an oblivious kid, and somebody comes at me with, you know, one of my parents comes at me with such anger, and I'm just caught off guard that I've done something to upset them, but they're reacting to me like I did something to them. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's a lot of probably what his children have experienced of him. You know what I mean? So he reads letters to them and he validates their feelings and promises to try and make things better from, you know, here on out. When he said he wishes that when he was too tired to pick Jaden up, he would have done it anyway and never let her go, y'all, I was like boo-hoo crying at that point. So right when we're about to resolve all of this, Jaden says she has a question for her grandmother, which I'm guessing is Mark's mother. Because you can tell that she's probably the reason why this man is, you know, feels like nobody cares about him. Because your mama got some vitriol about her. As soon as the little girl said, I have a question for grandma, the way she kind of, you know, sat up and kind of readjusted herself made me be like, oh, this is like an evil old bitch right here. And basically she is. Jaden wants to know, why did you never like me? Why didn't you like my mother? Why did you talk about my mother around me? Which is so terrible to do as a grandparent, but okay, bitch. She basically said, I just never liked you. I just don't like you. Never really gave a reason, but just said she doesn't like Jaden. Jaden is 18 years old and has been through so much and is still such a light in the room. It really hurt me that she even felt like that towards that child. And I know Iyanla felt the same way, because Iyanla said, Jaden, don't make it about you. It's not about you. How she feels is about her. That's her mess. Okay? Because I tell you right now, I'd rather one of my eyes fall out my head than to sit in front of any of my grandchildren and tell them I don't like them. Okay, and that's when we get to be continued. So even though this episode was long as hell, we ain't done yet. I was like, oh, thank you, God. That means Iyanla not all the way done yet. Because y'all know Iyanla is over after this season. And I'm going to be real in my feelings about it. But anyway, y'all, it was a good episode. Definitely had me crying. Definitely had me looking at my own shit, child. But I enjoyed it. I hope y'all enjoyed the review. I will definitely be back next week to talk about it. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel or whenever it comes back. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Mwah!